You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station. 89.3 is WKKC. This is Focus Talk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. We are talking on a regular basis. Why? Because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about politics, religion, personal development, education, history, music, and then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things within the Inglewood community, the Chicagoland area, and across the entire United States. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me in the studio today is author Shanna Red, who has written the book entitled Legally Branded. Shanna, how are you today?
I'm fine, and you?
I am well. Thank you for being here and sharing some information about your incredible story.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm happy that you're here as well. Now, give me some information about Legally Branded. What's the book all about?
Well, Legally Branded is about me being in 21 foster homes and how I survived.
Okay. Now, wow. Now, what period of time did that cover, you being in 21 different foster homes?
Ages 4 to 11, I was like in one foster home. From 11 to 19, I was in 20.
Wow. So now, your story started when you were 4 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And Ed, now, what happened where you were in foster care?
Well, my mother abandoned me and my brother, and she left us with a few people, but this time she left us with a lady who put us out on the front porch, and it was snowing, so we walked to the nearest tavern and someone rescued us.
Okay. And this was here in Chicago?
Yes, on the west side.
On the west side. Okay. So now, what was the process like? What is the process that once a child goes into the system?
Well, the process is you go through one foster home to another. It get worse as you go to another foster home. It's problems after another.
Mm-hmm. What did you experience during your time in various foster homes, Shanna?
I experienced things like going through the back door instead of the front door. Go to the basement, don't come in the front room. I experienced fights in each foster home and a lot of things. I experienced some good things too. I met Harold Washington and personally met him.
Okay. And you were about how old at that time?
I was about 17.
Okay. And what was that experience like?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was the highlight of my life. So I was happy to meet him, and I was sad when he died. So.
Okay. All right. Now the system. What have you learned about the system?
Then I learned that the system, either you survive or you don't. Either you go to jail, get pregnant, become a drug dealer, just end up just on death row.
Wow. Now, did you have any assistance from either individuals who were authority figures within the system, or maybe a pastor or anyone of that nature that you could lean on or depend upon?
Yes, I had a lot of help. I had looked for it. I needed it because I knew I was going down the wrong road.
Mm-hmm. How did you realize that?
I was just hanging around friends who were doing drugs, and that's all they were doing. And that's all I was doing with them too. So I looked for help because I didn't want to end. Excuse me. I didn't want to end up like that, and so I had got a job through independent living, what they call independent living, after you get out of the homes, like when you turn 18 years old. And I had got a job, and then I had sought my GED, and then from my GED I had got a 2-year degree. Then from that, the 2-year degree was from a community college.
Okay.
And
what was your degree in?
Psychology.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to a 4-year university, which was Chicago State.
Okay. Now, during your time in the system, how did you decide to create Legally Branded?
Legally Branded, I just wrote that in 2010. I was inspired by an author called Cupcake Brown. She had a story to tell. Her life wasn't all that. And so I said to myself, I want to write a book.
Okay.
So I asked a friend of mine who wrote a book, I asked them, how do you begin to write a book? She said, you just start. So I started and I couldn't stop. And as I was writing the book, I came across some memories that had left my head, and I had to stop and then continue another time.
So now, while you were writing, you said you came upon memories?
Yes.
What sort of memories?
That I lived in a big group home on the west side that because of my skin complexion, I was being picked on. Fights were started with me and everything. I had to learn how to fight to survive in the system.
Okay. And so as you began writing, these memories resurfaced?
Yes.
So they had been suppressed?
Yes.
For a period of time?
Yes.
And you hadn't even thought about them prior to you writing?
I haven't thought about them until I wrote this book.
Now, Shanna, tell me this. Did you like writing prior to creating your book?
Yes, I was working as a teacher's assistant, so I was teaching essay writing to the youth.
Okay.
So I did like writing.
So how long did it take for you to create Legally Branded?
I wrote it within a year. I wrote every day for 8 hours at Borders, which was open then.
Okay. Wow. And so you would sit down and write for 8 hours straight?
Yes, they thought I worked there.
Wow. And so you wrote longhand and then transcribed your work, or you sat and you typed it all out?
I wrote it first, longhand, then I typed it out.
Okay. 8 hours?
Yes.
Oh, you were dedicated.
Yes.
You were dedicated.
I wanted to write this book.
And so now, how did you come upon, you settled on the name Legally Branded?
At first, it was named the book title was named Born Into Perfect. The publisher didn't like it. She said, you have to come up with a different name. So I just did some research on DCFS in Chicago, and I came across a word called Legally Branded. I said, that's catchy. So it was like Legally Branded. After 18, the kids are out of the system. So I like Legally Branded. I'm like, I wonder how this would work. So I sent her the name Legally Branded, and she was like, perfect.
Okay.
I love it.
So what did you learn about DCFS, about the system?
DCFS, they believe the foster parents over the foster children. They didn't come out when they were supposed to, like they are now. Right now they are getting on parents who are neglecting their children now more than back then when I was in the system.
Mm-hmm. And so this was how long ago that you were in the system?
I'm gonna say over 25 years ago.
Okay. So now, as an individual who was in the system, who's been through the system, out of the system, and now you're on the other side, what advice could you give to a foster parent? What would you say to them?
Advice to a foster parent?
Mm-hmm.
To care for the individual that they let in their house, not be in it for money, for monetary reasons, and just care for the child as if they was their own.
Okay. What advice would you give to individuals who are in the system, to young men and young women who are maintaining or who are part of the system now?
Well, with perseverance and seeking out help to Boys and Girls Club and church, just get advice from them and stay busy and stay off the streets. And no matter what the foster parents said, if you're a loser or anything like that, just go somewhere where it's positive, a positive surrounding.
What was your structure? What helped you make it through?
I tell people I have no idea, but I had determination in me to do better. And the things that I thought that I wanted to do, I sought out and I did them. And it turned out terrific. You know, I couldn't believe that I was doing the things that I was doing.
Was it difficult?
At first it was difficult, just like everything else. You know, it was difficult, then it became easy, and I became a growing person inside and outside.
Shanna, you mentioned that you had a brother and that you and your brother were both abandoned by your mother. Now, was you and your brother, were you all together during the time that you were in the system?
We were together until I was 11 years old. After that, I was separated from my brother, and that was a blow to me. I looked for him and looked for him. I couldn't find him, and then one day I found him. I don't know, it was fate.
Mm-hmm. And so during the time that you all did not keep in touch, you weren't in communication?
No.
And he was still here in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay. How did you find him?
I just looked. I went back to the west side because I was staying on the south side. Okay. I went back to the west side looking for my brother, just asking people where do he live and everything. And so I found out where he lived through another person from the west side.
Now, were you in contact with any other family members or any other relatives? Was there anyone else that was there with you?
Not really, no.
No. Okay. Now, have you been in contact with your mother?
I had been in contact with my mother because DCFS, I was getting out of hand with DCFS. They sought out my mother so we can get together and possibly stay with each other. But that didn't work out because my mother was still doing drugs.
Okay. And so did you ever have an opportunity to mend that relationship?
We're still kind of mending it. I wonder what that means because I talk to my mother, but I don't talk to her. She stays in Mississippi. It's a long distance relationship, literally. I wonder, have I gave her? Well, I wonder, has she forgiven herself? It's hard. You know, it's not a mother-daughter relationship.
No.
No.
Do you think she's forgiven herself?
No.
No. Have you forgiven her?
I think I have.
Okay.
But it's from a distance. I don't let her get to me as much as I did in the past. She'll say some things to me that were mother-like, and it would get on my nerves. So right now, I keep her at a distance. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's forgiving her or not.
What makes you think that you may have forgiven her?
because I don't let the things she say get to me, and I let it be what it is. It's long distance, and that's how it is with me and her.
Now, at this point, Shanna, do you have family of your own?
I have a son who's 14 years old.
Okay. All right. So now, what did the relationship between you and your mother teach you about being a mother?
It taught me to be there for my child. No matter what, just be there and love them.
Okay. So, what do you want people to know, believe, or understand about you after reading your book?
I want them to understand that people make mistakes, even mothers, and sometimes children are put in situations they are not in control of, and it's not their fault. And if you read my book, it's not all about being a foster child. It's about the situations I've been through, like doing drugs, having sex to escape my reality. And people who read the book will find out some things about themselves as well.
Okay. What do you think the most important lesson or thought that's to be conveyed in the book?
No matter the situation, you can get out of it.
You can get out of it. Okay. Do you plan on writing another book? Is there a sequel to this one, or you want to do some other things at this point?
It's sort of a sequel to that, because being in 21 foster homes, it did affect me mentally. So I'm writing a book. I'm going to write a book about that later, because it's really deep. And but my next book is a novel. It's called Waterways, and it's about to be published this month or next month.
Okay. Really quickly, how has being in 21 different foster homes affected you mentally? Every time I move to a different location, I fall into a depression, and I have to see a doctor about my depression and anxiety. So I don't know if it's PTSD or what. They seem not to know either. They just give me medication. Okay. So
it seems to help me sleep. Like I said, the 21 foster homes, moving all that many times affected me. Just moving on, low self-esteem, anything that it could possibly do to you, it hurts.
I'm sure. Shanna, give me some closing words.
Like I said, my book is geared towards the youth mostly, and adults can learn from it too. And just treat your child as if you love them more than you love yourself. And the youth that look like they falling through the cracks, those are the ones who need the most attention. And just be a mentor to them.
Okay. Shanna Red, we thank you so very much for coming and being a part of today's show. Thank you so much for your labor, your dedication in creating Legally Branded, and we look forward to your next project.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 WKKC.
You're watching FocusTalk TV
with your host, Dennis Snipe.
All done. See, that wasn't bad at all.
I was nervous.
Oh, no, you did fine. You did fine. You got the message out. And believe it or not, you helped someone.